Hello everyone, I hope you're all having a fantastic day as always. Today is July the 4th and I've got some new news that has recently come out. Here are the headlines that we'll cover today. Firstly, BlackRock has filed for a new ETF application. Secondly, an Ethereum whale moves 3,000 ETH to Binance. Third, Cameron Winklevoss says SEC's crypto policies have been complete disaster for US investors. Fourth, Gemini's Cameron Winklevoss tweets a $1.5 billion final offer in debt talks over crypto firm Genesis. And lastly, Bitcoin remains the primary focus for investors amid year highs. So let's get into it. BlackRock files new Bitcoin ETF application amid SEC's concerns. BlackRock has submitted a new application for a Bitcoin spot market ETF after the SEC identified flaws in its initial filing. If approved, this would mark the first Bitcoin spot ETF to receive regulatory clearance. In a new filing submitted through Nasdaq, the asset management firm revealed plans to address one of the main objections raised by the Securities and Exchange Commission by finalizing a surveillance agreement with Coinbase, the leading US-based crypto exchange. The amended filing states that BlackRock's proposed exchange-traded fund will heavily rely on Coinbase, serving as the custodian and providing spot market data for pricing. The asset manager aims to establish a bilateral surveillance sharing agreement called the Spot BTC SSA between Nasdaq and Coinbase to enhance market surveillance. This agreement is designed to complement the exchange's existing market surveillance program. News of BlackRock's application for a Bitcoin spot ETF caused a notable price surge. Since the initial report on June the 15th, the cryptocurrency has experienced a 20% increase in value. This positive market sentiment persisted despite a June 30th report indicating that the SEC found BlackRock's initial application inadequate. The SEC has historically expressed concerns about potential fraud or manipulation in the spot market, making it registering a Bitcoin spot ETF challenging. Notably, no application for such an ETF has been approved thus far. However, the SEC has approved 4 Bitcoin ETFs related to futures trading, highlighting the distinction between the two types of ETFs. ETFs enable investors to gain exposure to various assets without direct ownership, including commodities, currencies, stocks, or bonds. In the case of a Bitcoin ETF, investors can participate in the price movement of Bitcoin without possessing the cryptocurrency itself. Instead, they can purchase shares that track the digital asset's value. Following BlackRock's revised application, other companies swiftly entered the race by filling their own ETF applications. Fidelity, which has partnered with Coinbase for similar services, saw its exchange operator, CBOE, modify its application for a Bitcoin spot ETF on the same day as the Wall Street Journal report. So the ETF race is on, and BlackRock have already refiled their application. They've paired up with Nasdaq, and they've changed some of the details to fulfill the surveillance requirements with Coinbase. Next up, Ether whale moves 3,000 Ethereum to Binance. And this is never a good sign because it usually means they're planning to sell. An Ethereum trader that recently made a 4.49 million profit by trading ETH on the Binance exchange has just transferred 3,000 ETH to the exchange again. Ether trader moves value. The global cryptocurrency markets have seen a resurgence in the recent weeks, overcoming the widespread FUD triggered by the US SEC's enforcement actions against several market participants. Ethereum, the world's second largest cryptocurrency, has also witnessed strong bullish momentum this week, hitting a high of over $1,976 on July the 3rd. However, despite the strong charge of the bulls so far, on-chain data released by Spot On-Chain shows an ETH trader who had previously earned a profit of over $4 million by correctly catching the token's previous pump cycles, may be anticipating an imminent Ether price crash. Per a Twitter thread by the researchers, the trader has transferred 3,000 ETH, worth around $5.87 million at the time, to Binance. The whale previously accumulated ETH during the November 2022 and June 2023 lows at an average purchase price of $1,218. At press time, the global crypto market capitalization stands at around $1.22 trillion, representing a 0.83% increase in the last 24 hours, according to CoinMarketCap. Ether is exchanging hands for $1,960, representing a decent 4.2% increase on the weekly time frame. ETH has a 24-hour trading volume of $7,638,161,476, with a market cap of $235,672,969,963, according to available data on CoinGecko. So a 24-hour trading volume of around 7.6 billion and a market cap of around 235 billion. Next, Cameron Winklevoss says SEC's crypto policies have been a complete disaster for US investors. Cameron Winklevoss says that the US Securities and Exchange Commission is doing more harm than good to crypto investors. The Gemini crypto exchange co-founder tells his 718,700 Twitter followers that the SEC's past rejections of spot Bitcoin ETF applications were not in the best interest of investors. Winklevoss says that he and his twin brother, Tyler Winklevoss, filed for a spot Bitcoin ETF 10 years ago, and the SEC refused to approve it. According to Winklevoss, the SEC's rejection only harmed investors by limiting their ability to build wealth via exposure to the number one digital asset. And I quote, "Today marks 10 years since Tyler and I filed for the first spot Bitcoin ETF. The SEC's refusal to approve these products for a decade has been a complete and utter disaster for US investors and demonstrates how the SEC is a failed regulator. Here's why. Protected investors from the best performing asset of the last decade, pushed investors into toxic products like the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust, GBTC, which trades at a massive discount to net asset value and charges astronomical fees. They pushed spot Bitcoin activity offshore to unlicensed and unregulated venues, and they pushed investors into the arms of FTX, subjecting them to one of the largest financial frauds in modern history." End of quote. Winklevoss also claims that the SEC is exceeding its statutory power in its crackdown on crypto and calls on the top security regulator to focus on its core mission. And here's another quote from them. "Maybe the SEC will reflect on its dismissal record and instead of overstepping its statutory power and trying to act like the gatekeeper of economic life, it will focus on fulfilling its mandate of investor protection, fostering fair and orderly markets, and facilitating capital formation. This would have led to much better outcomes for US investors." End of the quote. Winklevoss lends his support to those who have recently filed for Bitcoin ETFs. And another quote from them. "In the meantime, best of luck to all those fighting the good fight to bring US spot Bitcoin ETFs to life. Onward." Next up is another article from Cameron Winklevoss. Gemini's Cameron Winklevoss tweets a $1.5 billion final offer in debt talks over crypto firm Genesis. Creditors of the crypto financial firm Genesis propose a package of $1.5 billion of forbearance payments and loans denominated in dollars, Bitcoin and Ether, according to a term sheet posted on Twitter by the Gemini co-founder. Cameron Winklevoss, co-founder of the Gemini crypto exchange, tweeted what he described as a final offer in the debt restructuring talks over the bankrupt digital asset firm Genesis, bringing months of negotiations and mediation to a head with a plan for $1.5 billion in forbearance payments and fresh loans. On Monday, Winklevoss posted to Twitter an open letter to Barry Silbert, the founder of Digital Currency Group, which owns Genesis as well as giant crypto asset manager Grayscale. In the letter, Winklevoss bemoaned delays on the part of DCG, Digital Currency Group, to come up with a satisfactory plan to repay Genesis creditors, including customers of Gemini's Earn program. DCG also has missed a payment of $630 million to Genesis. Winklevoss tweeted a document titled, and I quote, "Best and Final Offer, July the 3rd, 2023, end of the quote, with the outlines of a plan that calls for $1.465 billion of payments and loans denominated in dollars, Bitcoin and Ether. The deadline to agree to the deal is 4 p.m. on July the 6th, according to the letter, so only 2 more days." And a quote from Winklevoss in the letter is, "I wrote to inform you that your games are over. In addition to dragging out a resolution, they have ballooned professional fees to over $100 million, all of which have gone to lawyers and advisors at the expense of creditors and Earn users." End of the quote. In a January court filing, Genesis had listed more than $3 billion in claims to its top 50 creditors. According to Winklevoss, some $1.2 billion is owed to Earn users. Efforts to reach the Digital Currency Group for comment were not immediately successful. In the letter, Winklevoss wrote that the consequences of failing to agree to this deal by the deadline could include lawsuits against Digital Currency Group and Silbert personally, as well as pushing to put DCG into default and working on a non-consensual debt repayment plan. So that doesn't look very good for Digital Currency Group. And finally, Bitcoin remains the primary focus for investors amid year highs. Bitcoin investment products have experienced $310.6 million in inflows over the last 2 weeks. Bitcoin, which its current price is at $30,973, has been the primary focus for institutional investors over the last 2 weeks, according to CoinShares, as the cryptocurrency continues to hit new highs for 2023. In a July the 3rd report from CoinShares, head of research James Butterfill, the analyst noted that Bitcoin-related products saw $310.6 million of inflows over the last 2 weeks, representing the vast majority of crypto product inflows. And a quote from Butterfill: "Bitcoin remained the primary focus of investors, with the last 2 weeks' inflows representing 98% of all digital asset flows. The last 2 weeks of inflows are a reversal from the previous 9 consecutive weeks of outflows. Short Bitcoin products have also experienced a minor outflow of $0.9 million over the last week. It's the second time this year that Bitcoin products have accounted for 98% of inflows into cryptocurrency investment products, and it comes amid a surge in Bitcoin's price and dominance. Much of this surge has been pinned on BlackRock's June the 15th spot Bitcoin ETF application, followed by similar filings from Fidelity, Invesco, WisdomTree and Valkyrie. Since the filings, The price of Bitcoin has increased by 25.2% to $31,131 at the time of writing. Bitcoin's dominance, which is a measure of its market cap relative to the total market cap of all cryptocurrencies, has risen to 51.46% according to data. Meanwhile, Ethereum investment products inflows came in at $2.7 million last week, the second week of inflows reversing a lengthy outflow trend. Speaking to Cointelegraph on June the 26th, Fireblock CEO Michael Shorlov said there had been a fair amount of interest from the institutional investors in core assets such as Bitcoin and Ether, but less so in alternative cryptocurrencies. Shorlov said the narrative around Bitcoin has been less specific, but said most investors see the need to hold the cryptocurrency. So it's looking bullish for Bitcoin, and the Fear and Greed Index is currently showing a 64. And that's all for so far today. There may be more news out later. If there is, I'll make another video and keep you up to date. Thank you for tuning in and listening. All source links will be left in the description or as a top comment that I will pin in the video. If you enjoyed this video or found it helpful in any way, I'd really appreciate it if you would hit the like button and leave a comment to let me know your thoughts on today's news. Also, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so you don't miss out on future updates. I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you all later.